Well, hello there and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be doing an honest review on one of my guitars that I've had for quite a few years and love to death, the Kramer Focus 2000. And this is mine here. It's pretty awesome. It's got a lot of parts on it, obviously, which are not original, but the bare bones and the husk of this thing, I believe, dates back to the early 80s. Now, I'm fairly certain that this model in particular is probably an 83, and the reason I would say that is, just when you look at it, the headstock itself specifically, I don't know if you can see that little Kramer logo right there. This is kind of the old school Kramer logo. After about 83, 84, they switched what this looked like here to something that's more like the 3D style that you find on like Focus 6000s later around 86 or so. So that kind of leads me to believe this is probably, if I had to guess, around 83, 84. And also on my back plate here, I don't know if you can see the serial number. It's a really low serial number. What do we got here for numbers? 000615. So it doesn't seem like we're pretty high up there in the production run. Probably an early model. Also, the other reason I'm fairly convinced that this was a super early edition of the Focus 3000 is this guy right here. This is what came on mine originally. This is a non-fine tuner Schaller-made German Floyd Rose. These are really awesome, super high quality pieces of kit. This is obviously off of my guitar, reason being no fine tuners. As stable as these are, I like fine tuners. I find it to be a real nuisance to play without them, so yeah, there's that. Alright, so a couple things I can tell you about this. Obviously this model has had a few things changed on it just since I've taken ownership of it. The electronics here, these are not stock. This is, I think, a Wilkinson pickup in the neck, and this is a DiMarzio PAF in the bridge. You can obviously see the bridge here. This is pretty sweet. So the bridge itself, this is a Floyd Rose Special. These are made overseas, although the quality on them is pretty darn good. This one I put on here because I saw them pop up in this custom run burnt chrome finish. Couldn't really resist, looks super cool. So yeah, we put one of those on there. And it came with the R2 nut, which matches and is lovely as well. This one I did modify a little bit. I put a big brass block in there, just personal preference. I prefer it like that, works for my purposes. But yeah, great little trim. For me, the fine tuners were quite important. When this showed up, of course, without the fine tuners, I was losing my mind trying to keep this sucker in tune. What you basically do is end up tuning it a little bit flat, and then when you clamp down your lock nut here, it pulls everything a little bit sharp, which hopefully puts everything in tune. Anyway, that's of course a bit of a finicky process. It was driving me bonkers, and yeah, so I only tolerated that for about a month and then put that on. Anyway, a little bit of background of information on these guitars in general. You're probably familiar with the shape. This is essentially the Kramer Pacer body shape. This is akin to the Kramer Pacer Imperials of the era, which are super awesome, really great shred machines. The only difference being, of course, those are made in America, or at least assembled in America, whereas these were completely built in Japan and then imported. Now, the beauty about these and why these are becoming such valuable guitars, and you can really see the prices starting to climb up on reverb and things like that, is because these were manufactured by ESP. So essentially, this is a Japanese high-quality made ESP guitar that says Kramer on the headstock. So the quality and fit and finish of this is pretty darn nice. What I can tell you really about this, just from a quality perspective, the body is relatively light. I'm not sure what kind of wood is being used for this in particular. I believe the old Pacers and the current model Pacers Kramer are producing are made out of maple. This feels like it could be maple. I mean, I don't have any bare wood really showing anywhere where I can verify this, but we're going to go ahead and say it probably is maple. This is actually a funny thing about this guitar in general. When I bought this, I purchased it from a gentleman who I think had purchased it for his daughter to learn how to play guitar on it, and she was left-handed. So if you flip it upside down like this and take a look right there, you can see they took this strap off, put the button there so they could flip it upside down and play it. Obviously, as far as electronics go, we've got one right here for your switch, which is pretty standard. I think all Pacers of the era were like that. Tone knob, volume knob. I think I've gone ahead and split one. Again, this is just to my tastes because I wanted to be able to split that humbucker. I'm not going to go through a bunch of the sounds on this just because these pickups are aftermarket. I will leave me playing out at the very end of this, and if you just check the timestamp, so you can fast forward to that if you want to see how this one in particular sounds, but this is in no way indicative of how an actual Focus 2000 would sound because, again, these are different pickups. So yeah, it sounds good, but it doesn't sound the same. The pickups that did come in this, they had already been changed, and I don't know why they were changed or who changed them. What I did hear from other people that have had original unmodified versions of these, that the pickups were kind of the weak point of these guitars. Like the hardware, of course, being German made, Schaller stuff is really good. The tuners on my stock one seemed fine enough. I mean, it doesn't really matter with a lock nut. So these are all strong points. The fit and finish of the guitar itself is a strong point, but the electronics seem to be where Kramer was really cutting costs and saving money. Anyway, but yeah, needless to say, the 2 pickups I had in here look like homemade ones, and they sounded god-awful, so they are long gone. Good riddance. So a couple other just quick things to point out about my body, obviously in general. It's pretty used, abused, and worn. I mean, this is just from years of use. I don't know if you can see this here. There's like all sorts of scoring on this particular electronics cavity cover. I don't know why. It looks like somebody gouged it artistically for some reason. Obviously you can see I've done a couple mods as well. I've got a big brass block in here, just player preference stuff. But yeah, no, great guitar. Body's wonderful. The fit and finish and the quality of the paint seems to be really good. It's holding up quite well considering that I think this is probably an 83 model. I mean, I got a couple dings and scratches here and there, but this thing is old. What do you want? It plays well. It still looks hella cool. The neck. We should talk about this. I love 80s Kramer necks, which I guess is really me just kind of saying I love ESP Japan necks out of the 80s. But anyway, yeah, this neck is great. The profile on this, I find, is really similar to the modern Pacers that you can buy. So like this guy right here, my Pacer Tiger, I find the neck profile very similar. This is called a, I think Kramer called this the slim profile neck. Feels really good. It's really comfortable. This one feels a little bit beefier. Not by a massive margin though. I'd still say it's quite comfortable to play. You're not going to get a hand cramp using this. Obviously we've got, maple neck. The fingerboard here is rosewood because this is all before CITES or any of that stuff, so lots of rosewood. And we've got, I think those are medium jumbo frets, maybe jumbos. And we've got, a whopping 22 of them, which is great. That's really kind of the preferred thing you need, standard shred attire from the 80s. Yeah, and of course, I mean, aside from this neck being just ultra comfortable, it's your standard 25.5-inch scale length, so it's very much like a Fender. So if that's your kind of general preference, this is going to feel very comfortable. The headstock, of course, is the classic Kramer beak. I love this headstock. A lot of people, I think, didn't like the Focuses when they first came out because they say Focus quite predominantly here instead of, Kramer. It doesn't really bother me much. I think it's kind of a neat model. This one in particular says Kramer Focus 2000. I've seen some that say Focus 2000D. I've heard those might be even earlier than these ones, but I'm not 100% sure. If you do know, I'm sure there's some Kramer aficionados out there. Leave me a comment below. I'd love any more information you've got on this. Obviously, these tuners are aftermarket. I bought them just to kind of match my burnt chrome hardware. I think these are Geiger. I'm not sure where they're manufactured, but they work well enough. Honestly, I bought them because they look really cool and match the hardware. So there's that. So that's pretty much all I can really tell you about this guitar. I mean, it's just your basic 80s shred stick. It's awesome. These speed knobs are nice. They're easy to use. They're comfy. They're fast. And I'm a big fan of switches like this as well. Kramer used these quite a bit in the 80s. I just like them. They seem kind of industrial to me. Almost like you're flicking a power switch on a spaceship or something, which is pretty cool. So yeah. Anyhow, my thoughts and impressions on this guitar is this is a very high quality instrument. You will need to change probably the pickups if you get one of these that hasn't been touched, although the odds of that are slim. They're old. They weren't super expensive when they were new on the market, so a lot of people did buy them and modify them. Obviously this one's not an exception. It has indeed been modified quite a bit by me. But that's okay. That's part of the fun with guitars like this. It's a high quality instrument. It's ESP made, and finding anything that's ESP made for a bargain these days is pretty much impossible aside from these. So keep your eye on the used market. They can be found for a reasonable price. I have seen them going up as high as $1,000 on Reverb for really, really nice examples. But I think for the most part, if you're quite shrewd and keep your eyes on the used market, you can find them for around $500 or so. But yeah, nope, really like this guitar. I have absolutely zero intention of ever parting with it. It plays wonderfully, looks great, and yeah, I really enjoy this profile of neck. It's thin, but it's not so thin you're going to find yourself with a wicked hand cramp after playing for, 20 minutes or something. Anyhow, that's all I've really got to say about this guitar. I hope you liked the review. If you did, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and help the channel grow. And yeah, let me play out here, so hang tight. Here comes some music.